So today we're going to be installing a Sheridan Stage 3 valve body in a Dodge Ram. It's a 545 RFE transmission. So this video will cover removing the valve body, changing the solenoid pack over, reinstalling valve body, then your filters. So this video will help you out if you're changing your solenoid pack, because the procedure is almost the same, or if you're just changing your filter and want to see more of what's inside your transmission. So what we're going to be doing is removing the fluid from the transmission. Then we'll take the pan off. Then just here's a schematic of which bolts you take out. You'll need a 8mm, 10mm, and T20. And then we're going to take these bolts out of the pump to remove the solenoid pack. It's just one big solenoid pack on this. So because the fluid level is above the pan in the transmission, there's a lot of fluid in there. It goes everywhere when you drop the pan. So it's really handy to have one of these little pump kits here. So I'd recommend buying one of these. This is the one I'm going to be using. And then you just pump out most of the fluid through the dipstick before you drop the pan. Saves a bit of mess. It also helps to get some absorbent mat, like that stuff down there, and put it underneath the transmission. Save you a bit of headache. Okay, so here we have our pump going into the transmission dipstick tube. I've just got it going into an old container here, so you can see how this is set up. So it doesn't work too well. Pump's kind of crappy, but it is working, so it's easier than dropping the pan full and spilling stuff everywhere and making a huge mess. Before we get too into this, let's take a moment to talk about ATF. So ATF4 is a very specific specification, and it has to be licensed in order to say ATF4, and they do have inspections on the factories. So all all ATF4 is going to be the same. If it's Mobile 1 or Pennzoil or whatever, if it's licensed to ATF4, right? That's the spec, that's the additive package. What you do not want to use in your transmission is one of these, where it says multi-vehicle Chrysler. If you look at the back, you can see it says that it meets all these different specifications. So these are all totally different, and they have different additive packages. So if they all have different friction modifiers in them, there's no way it's going to work properly for all of them. So it's bad for your transmission to use that. Do not put the multi-vehicle in your transmission, because these are really picky about them, these 545 RFEs. So only use the actual ATF4, doesn't matter which one, they're all the same. Do not use this, okay? The only one you can use that's not ATF4, and if you're wondering if the one you're looking at is licensed, there's a list online that has a list of all the licensed brands. So this is licensed, this is legit, this is not licensed. Don't use that. This here is Redline product. It's called C+ ATF. So this is the only non-licensed ATF you want to use. I'm going to be using this. This is made by Redline, and it's got the same additive package as ATF4. So it's good. It's not like one of these multi-vehicle ones. Even the Amsoil multi-vehicle one you don't want to use, because it's for multiple transmissions. This is specific for our transmissions. And it's the exact same as ATF4, except it has a different base stock. So it's a ester based, I'm pretty sure. It's just a superior oil. So this is a better one to use. The reason it's not a licensed ATF4 is because it uses the different base stock than what Chrysler specifies. So this is okay to use. This is the best. If you don't want to spend all the extra money, or you're using the stock engine and you're not cranking out more power and stuff, just stick with the normal ATF4 licensed, and don't use this. Like a power steering system maybe, but not in the transmission. Okay, so that's how much ATF we got out, by the way. It looks like a little over 2 liters. So service fill is more than that, so there's going to be some more in here still. There's also going to be some that comes out when we take our filters out. So all these bolts around the edge, these are all an 8mm. So we're going to take these out, then you're going to leave like 1 or 2 in, and then tip the pan down on an angle so it drains into your drain pan, okay? So it's a little bit tricky and it's messy. Just try not to shower in it. Alright, see you guys after I do that. Okay, here we are with the pan off. So you can see there's our valve body. There's one filter and there's the other filter. So this one just screws into the pump, or goes into the pump housing up there, and there's an O-ring in there or a seal that's very, very important. So we'll talk more about that when I replace this filter. So you have a 4-wheel drive, so this is a bit longer than you 2-wheel drive guys. And then there's a T25 screw right there. You take that out. This comes off, and then we're going to unscrew this filter right here. So it looks with the filters out. Really good for getting that little filter off. You can be a bugger, get a pair of these. They're made by Channel Lock. They're great. Everyone should own one. So now we have more bolts, same size as the ones that hold the pan on, all around the outside of the valve body. We're going to take all those off. Don't touch the Torx ones yet, okay? You don't want to take those out yet. We're just doing these ones. Then the valve body is going to drop down, and then we'll take it over to the bench and work on it. So in case that wasn't clear, this is the picture of the bolts that you have to take out. So here's our valve body. This is our solenoid block. So we're going to be switching that over to the stage 3 valve body from Sheridan Performance. If you're just replacing a solenoid block, you're just going to take this off, put the new one on. So the white plug works for all of them. There's also a black plug and a gray plug one. I'm not sure which years those are for, but the white one's the updated solenoid block that we're using for everything now. So if you're changing it, make sure you get a white block one. Alright, the other thing you want to make sure of is that, see how this moves? This will slide, and that's a detent. So you want to make sure it's all the way to this side like this. This is all the way back. That's park. If you put it in the wrong position, you can screw it up. You don't want to do that. Clean this off before you put it back into, because there's a bit of grit on there. So this, we're going to flip it over. Bear with me with the one hand here. Okay. We're just going to take out the screws on the inside of this row. So in this picture here, see, those are the screws on the outside. We want to do all the ones inside this block here. So that'd be these ones here, and then that'll come out. Then we can put on the new valve body, or replace that block, or what have you. So I'll just show you that once more. So these are also going to be a T25, I believe, or a T20. So I'm going to do that, then I'll get back to you guys. Okay? I could, so I did it pretty quick. Underneath the solenoid block, there's a gasket, some screens. So when you get a new one, there'll be new screens. It's important not to get those clogged up. You want to make sure there's no crap in there. You want to make sure it doesn't get dirty. You want to do this as clean as you can. Ideally, you know, you do what you can. But so move that over. There are 2 bolts in the middle. It's very important that you torque those 2 first. They'll actually have arrows pointing towards them cast into the metal on the valve body. There are these 2 right here. That casting will be in it. So all these bolts get torqued into 50 inch-pounds, not foot-pounds, inch-pounds, which is not a lot. It's a good idea to have a little torque wrench. It doesn't cost a lot of money to get an inch-pound torque wrench. They're not that expensive. Just get one. Save yourself the headache. Transmission's really expensive. You don't want to blow it up. So I couldn't find a torque pattern for them, so I just torqued them 50 inch-pounds, the 2 bolts first, and then I went in a spiral pattern towards the outside, kind of like you would with a head gasket, right? So that's what I did, and then I went over it again, made sure nothing needed to be retorqued. So what I do when I'm doing stuff like that, where there's a lot of bolts, they're kind of all over the place, is I'll leave them sitting out, and then I'll put it in and finger tighten it, and then torque it, and then I'll grab the next one, do the next one. That way you don't like finger tighten them all and then miss one or something like that. Then it falls out and your transmission blows up. Next step is going to be cleaning off gasket mating surfaces. I like using one of these razor scrapers, and I'll scrape off the gasket material with that. Make sure you have a nice sharp one. Be careful not to gouge the aluminum. Don't screw it up too much. And then I'll use really light Scotch-Brite pad just to buff it down nice and smooth. Be careful with these. A lot of the times you don't want to use these because it'll deposit aluminum oxide aggregate. And if you're doing that to clean a head gasket or something, you can get that inside your oil and coolant passages, and it'll actually bed into your bearings and do a lot of damage. But with this, because the transmission's upside down, if we're really careful and then we brake cleaner it after, I don't think it'll be an issue. So I'll get back to you guys after I do that. Made in the USA. What? That's the transmission filter. So that's just the little screw-on guy, twist on that goes there. So I've got the valve body in, and I've got that filter on. So that filter, there's a little seal that goes in. Pull it out with a screwdriver or pick. Be careful not to scratch the casing at all. You don't want to damage that. And then use the back end of a plastic or wood hammer, the back of the handle, to kind of tap the new one in. You want to make sure it's seated all the way, and then put the filter in. Don't put the seal on the filter first. Put the seal on the transmission and then put the filter on. One screw right there. The valve body, when you're putting it back on, it's just the opposite of when you took it off. Torquing from the center out like you do a head gasket. That's what I did. So those bolts are torqued to 105 inch-pound. Be really careful with all these bolts, because if you strip one out, you're going to have a nightmare trying to fix it. So as you can see, it's all cleaned off. So I'll meet up with you guys again after I get this filter on, and then we'll put the pan on. Okay, clean everything one last time. Make sure everything's mint. You don't want crap getting in there. You gotta do it twice, right? I tried welding in a drain plug, and it kind of went okay. Put your magnet back in. This is how I do my RTV. 2 lines. Circle all the bolt holes. Okay, 2 lines on each side of the trench. I'm using ultra black. There's also ATF RTV. Ultra black's fine. Put the pan up, finger tighten the bolts, let it set up, and then you go back and torque it after an hour if you're using ultra black. Follow the instructions. Oh, I like Permatex RTVs. I've never had a problem with them. It was on the dipstick, good. Go inside, start the truck, park and brake on, then you want to run through your gear selections. Just go park, reverse, neutral, blah blah blah, and just go through and let it idle a little bit in each one just to get the fluid moving through. Take it for a nice easy drive, stop, check the level. Then I need to put another cord in, so I'm just throwing another cord in. Just keep doing that, drive it around for a bit, check it a lot, make sure that you never run it too low. Then it should be good, should be fine. It's driving really nice now. She likes that new valve body, so that's a good thing. Just be careful overfilling your transmission, because if you overfill these, it's not so good for the pump seals. You can blow seals out and stuff, so don't overfill them. But they're more accurate to check it while it's hot. Operating temp for checking it hot's like 180 degrees or something like that, which they usually don't get up to. So if you've been driving it around for like 10 minutes or whatever, and it's in between the hot and cold on the, or the full and empty on the hot, you're good. All right, good luck guys. If you have any questions, post them in the comments down below. I'll try and help you out if I can. All right, take her easy.